Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we have our Survivor Series 2023 results and reactions. What a crazy show. You guys already know what happened most likely, but we're going to get straight into things. We started off with the Women's War Games match, and this match was very, very, very fun. All women had a great show in this match. Shotzi lived up to the hype, and she delivered. At least in my opinion, I think she did a very good job of holding her own and showing that she did belong in this match. I think that was like a big talking point, was why is she in this match? She doesn't really have the prestige of some of the other women in this match, but she did a very good job, so I'm happy for her. We got the cool story moment between Becky and Charlotte, who, going into this, we didn't know if they were going to turn on each other at one point, or would they be able to coexist in this, and they were able to, and so at some point in the match they end up hugging, and they have a good little moment. But yeah, I'll let you take it over.
Yeah, and to go with your point about Shotzi, even after the pay-per-view was over, we watched the post interviews or whatever.
Yeah.
And Triple H kind of mentioned how she, like, this match kind of should put it in the upper echelon of, like, the women's division. So with the man who gives the yes and no's to everything, for him to say that, that's obviously great for her, because obviously that could mean a lot of different things. Like, because if he thinks you're in the upper echelon, could that mean a title shot for her at some point in some way? She wins the Rumble or does whatever, I don't know, however she does it, but that's pretty cool just to hear Shotzi get love from Triple H like that. Obviously, a big spot of the match is going to be the big EO spot with the trash can. She puts the trash can on her head, and she does like a crossbody from the top of the War Games steel cage onto everybody. It was really cool. It was like a funny thing / really cool wrestling move / like just looked really good on camera.
Yeah.
And this is going to, and another one too, I almost forgot. Charlotte then goes to the top, and she does her somersault onto, once again, everybody. And I told you earlier, but I'm gonna tell the camera too. But her somersault is literally, she obviously was always good, but I guess I'm just not realizing that's like one of the best probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was my match of the night. I'm gonna just say it now. My favorite match, the most exciting one. But yeah.
Yeah. Moving on from that, it was followed up by Gunther and The Miz. This match, very solid match. Gunther picked up the win here. And yeah, this was an alright match. Miz had some good offense in this match. But Gunther he retains and just continues his long streak. You had points where maybe I genuinely thought The Miz was going to win this match. I forget what caused that. Oh no, it was Miz hits him in the knee and then he low blows him, and he goes for the pin, but it only gets 2, which I thought that was going to end, which I was really scared for, because I was like, I don't really want that for all this to end. But yeah, this was a solid match. It wasn't Gunther's best match. It wasn't The Miz's best match. Just a very solid match to kind of keep momentum going after the Women's War Games match and into the rest of the show.
Yeah, obviously for the whole majority of the match, it's Miz kind of going for the knee of Gunther / leg, just everything on the lower half of his body basically. He's slamming his knees into the ring post. He's doing drop kicks on his knees. He's doing everything he can basically go after his legs. And Gunther's obviously, he's doing all his power moves, his chops, his body slams. At one point, Miz kicks out of the power bomb as well, which is like a big moment. I think they said on commentary that he was the first person to kick out of it. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that's what I heard. But yeah, it was a pretty good match. Nothing too exciting, but you know, it's kind of what we expected, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And then moving on from that, we had Santos Escobar versus Dragon Lee. Santos Escobar does pick up the win here. This was the shortest match on the night, and it was a solid match. It was very fun. Dragon Lee got some good offense in. Kind of expect the lucha styles coming into play in this match, and yeah, very solid match.
Yeah, I like the addition of it being Dragon Lee rather than Carlito. Obviously, that will make the match a little bit better. Not to diss Carlito or anything, but Dragon Lee is just, really good. Santos Escobar really good. And they made it make sense in storyline after the attack that he did on Carlito, where Carlito kind of comes in takes him down on SmackDown in the ring, and then he kind of sneaks around the barricade, jumps off, and attacks him from behind, and he hurt his elbow or arm or something like that, and that's why Dragon Lee was here. But yeah, I like the addition of Dragon Lee. I feel like it added a little bit to the match. Carlito didn't have to take a pin, but Dragon Lee still looked strong because, you know, Dragon Lee, he got all his crazy spots in. But yeah, I just wish maybe they had a little bit more time so that they could show off a little bit more because they're both great. But shout out to Dragon Lee because it's the second pay-per-view now that he was on, and, you know, pretty big part of.
Yeah, and as I forget, supposed by Santos and his character work, I'm very excited for this. They seem like they're gonna push him pretty hard with this heel run. It seems like he's distancing himself from the former members of Legado del Fantasma and Zelina Vega, so it doesn't seem like it might join there. But I do see people like maybe Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza being called up from NXT and joining him on the main roster because they were on main roster. They got pushed really quick to main roster, and they kind of came back recently to NXT. But I think they feel ready, in my opinion. Maybe you give them a bit more time, or maybe when you are fully ready to push a Santos faction by himself, or him being the head honcho of the group. I think that's maybe when you call him up. But yeah, very good match. Dragon Lee had a good showing as always, and yeah, very solid match. Next up, we have Rhea Ripley retaining her Women's World Champion against Zoe Stark, and this was a solid match. I enjoyed it. There's not too much to talk about this match. There wasn't too many huge spots, I would say. Yeah, I really enjoyed this match.
Yeah. One thing I will say is I didn't much care for the Rhea Ripley ring attire. I felt like it looked a little crazy with the smeared lipstick or whatever, and I don't know. I don't really care for it. Maybe it's just me. But it's just me being picky. But the match was alright. Not the greatest. I don't know what I wish actually. I'm not really sure what more I wanted. It was still good. But I just wanted a little bit more. I don't know what that more is though.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know what to expect. I didn't expect much from this match just because there's two things that are going to come out from this match. One, Rhea was looking out more dominant than ever probably, and that Zoe was at least going to have a good enough showing to make her believable for future storylines and have future feuds. They seem like they're going to have something with her and Shayna Baszler soon. What comes from that, don't know. Maybe Shayna's the next in line for probably Royal Rumble, if I had to guess, or maybe Nia Jax, but kind of have to see until then. But yeah, this is a solid match.
Yeah, maybe it felt a little boring. Maybe not boring. I don't want to say that, but maybe it felt a little bland. Maybe because it feels like she's gonna win no matter what because Perth is coming up. Yeah. So maybe it feels like that because everyone feels like she's gonna keep it until then. So her retaining, just it feels like the usual kind of.
Yeah, I thought that's the reason why WWE kind of hasn't been having her in so many matches as well was just because, I mean, we kind of know she's gonna win. I mean, why? It's kind of like the same with Seth. Even though Seth is a bit more believable because anytime he really could lose, in my opinion. And we'll kind of get to that later on as well. But yeah, this is a solid match, and these first four matches really flew by really fast, in my opinion, as well. So that was really good. And then we head straight into the main event, which is a 5-on-5 men's War Games match where Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Randy Orton do pick up the victory. And this was a great match. The good guys come out first, or the Judgment Day came out first, and then Cody Rhodes was the last to come out before Randy. Randy doesn't come out immediately, but Rhea's music hits. She brings out the briefcase. It seems like Damien's going to cash in on Seth, and this is part of the plan. And they kind of go back and forth, and you think they're about to cash in on Seth. Then Randy Orton's music hits. He comes out, he goes crazy, does all his moves. Hits Dominic with the little turnaround scoop slam kind of thing. Same thing to JD. He also he's about to RKO somebody. Then he looks at Jey Uso. He looks like he's about to RKO him. Then Damien's about to come from behind and hit Randy, but Jey Uso saves him kinda. Super kicks him away. He RKOs. Then Randy RKOs Dominic. And then after this, you kind of have I want to say that after this, JD really didn't have any offense. Really, I would say can't really call much. Maybe like a little bit, I'm sure, but not much after Randy comes out, which makes sense.
The
Honestly.
only time he got offense in is after Randy did all his spots in the beginning. They all kind of attacked him in the corner for a little bit and stomped him for a little bit. So maybe I don't remember if he was in that point, like in the corner with them attacking him at that point. But if so, that was probably when he got his hits in, I guess.
Yeah, and then in the end, you have everybody's out besides one man, and that's JD. Everybody's surrounding him. He tries to escape just before from the match, basically. Seth and Sammy catch him trying to escape. They throw him off. He gets RKO'd. And then you have a little moment where right after Randy, he high-fives Cody. They kind of are getting ready to finish the match. Randy throws Damian into Cody to let Cody get the big win. He pins Damian, which I kind of thought was surprising because I feel like I would have expected like a JD to take the pin here, mainly because, I mean, he's kind of seems like the fall guy for the Judgment Day right now.
No.
So, yeah. And then that's your lot. I mean, the babyfaces went pretty clean. Right after the match, Drew McIntyre does storm away. We kind of get to that now. But yeah, that's all of it. You know, the watermark hits and that's over. But wait! CM Punk, Cult of Personality, plays, and what a just mind-boggling goosebumps are. It's just, it's crazy to think that we didn't know what this was going to happen. Like, there's a lot of the time where we're like, man, I don't know this is going to happen, or I really think it's going to happen now, and everything seems to be set up, but it seems it could all be a lie, or, you know, but yeah, this was just, once Cult of Personality hit, just absolutely insanity, just goes crazy. Yeah, I'm going to let you talk about how you're feeling into this.
Yeah, obviously, you know, going into it, so after the Rhea and Zoe match, it was like, I remember looking at my phone, and it was like 9:47, and I was like, man, that's a lot of time left over. I was like, okay, but whatever, you know, maybe it's just it's a War Games match at the end of the day, so it could easily take up that amount of time. And then the whole match happens, obviously, it was great. Randy comes back, huge crowd pop, love it. But obviously everything's gonna kind of be overshadowed by the CM Punk thing.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, in our predictions video, I predicted if it did happen, it was gonna be through Shinsuke doing like his open challenge live, and it didn't happen like that. He just kind of comes out, and obviously, you know, I guess I'll address it now. The big thing that's, you know, going on the internet right now is as he's coming out, you know, his music hits, he does his entrance, the crowd goes nuts, he's shaking a few hands and all that kind of stuff. And then the video comes out on Twitter, and it's Seth Rollins, and he's just, you know, just irate. Yes, yeah. Exactly, irate, just at the edge of the ring, and he's just flipping them off. He's saying, you know, for YouTube reasons, F you. And yeah, he's just kind of going crazy. In my opinion, it's a work, but obviously there is history between the two, so it could be real, but I'm going to assume it's a work. Then there's the Drew thing, as you mentioned. He kind of storms out right after the match. I don't think anyone really knows what that's about. It was before CM Punk, so it's not supposed to be about him.
Yeah, a few people were like, because people noticed that, well, the first report was from, I think, PW Inside, and they were like, Drew immediately stormed out after the match. He got to his locker room, he slammed his locker room door, he got his bags, and he just left in a black hoodie, and he was gone. He wanted to be incognito, basically, and just left. A lot of people assumed at first this was because of CM Punk, and this is just another person who just had a good relation with CM Punk and just wasn't very fond of the idea of him coming back. But another video surfaced, like, as soon as the match was over, he was the first one out. Like, as soon as the bell rang, he was already out the ring, basically. So, don't really think that's anything to do with CM Punk. I kind of hope not as well, because even though I understand people have their issues with CM Punk, and, you know, like you said, it could be a work, and I also in that boat of, I think, the Seth Rollins and CM Punk beef seems to be like it's going to be a work, but I think it'll be in include into a big feud, probably your Mania match between them two, which is crazy to think about right now. But yeah, I think it's just really hard to say. I just hope that everybody can work together and do what's right for the business, or do what's best for business, and just make a lot of money, put on banger matches for the people, and just move on with their life, you know?
Yeah, but one thing that also kind of leads me to believe that maybe the Drew thing could potentially still be about CM Punk, though, is that, like I said, there was still so much time after that Rhea and Zoe match. So I feel like people knew at that point. Maybe they didn't know if it was going to happen yet, but they knew that maybe it potentially could, maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe once the match got cut short and there was still a lot of time left, maybe Drew realized that and he was mad because of that. That's just kind of like a theory that I have. But I don't really think it's about him. I think if they sign him, I'm sure at some point they had a conversation with Seth. I mean, like, yo, if we do sign him, what is your, opinion about it? Like, is that off the table for you?
Yeah.
And, I'm sure he had some sort of conversation, like, it could have been weeks ago, months ago, who knows? But yeah, because obviously this is something in the works. Soon as he left AEW, this was the only thing that was going to be talked about.
Yeah. And the AEW, or his AEW debut, when he returned on that Rampage, the very first Rampage, it was the worst kept secret because everybody knew he was coming back that night. It was just, people were ready for it to actually happen, And I'll be honest, I think this is the best kept secret. I think, at first everybody was like, oh yes, it's happening. Like, it's guaranteed to lock now. But more reports came out in these past 2-3 weeks, really, and it went from, it's a certain lock that he's coming back to, I don't think he's coming back anymore. And, it's just insane because you have people like Sean Ross Sapp who were very much saying, I don't think he's coming back. You had PW Insider say there's reports that they talked to almost anybody they could, worded phrases every way they can to try to get anything out of anybody. And no one knew that CM Punk was coming back. To the point where Triple H said only a hand-selected few knew, including him and Nick Khan. So, and obviously CM Punk as well. I'm interested to see, I'd like to know who else knew, because, I want to know who, because whoever knew as well is probably high up in WWE as well, so I'm interested in that. But, yeah, just insanity. And another thing as well, CM Punk looks different in a good way, I'll say. He has like a new haircut, and he kind of dyed his beard and his hair more back to like the black. There's not a lot of gray anymore. But yeah, just an absolutely crazy moment. And maybe I'm just coming off a bias, and it's just happening. This might be best pay-per-view of the year. We're probably gonna have a video out in sometime next month, probably towards the end, talking about pay-per-views and what was the best wrestling pay-per-view this year. The Randy pop was amazing. Just the crowd, this entire crowd, the entire night also was just amazing. Like, they reacted to it all the best ways. They were, for moments that should be cheered on, they cheered on.
They still were able to get all their CM Punk chants in throughout the pay-per-view, and all the, the dead time where nobody was able to cheer for a match. They were cheering for CM Punk. But yeah, I tweeted this earlier, but it's just like an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. We have Edge in AEW, we have CM Punk back in WWE, we have Kairi Sane back, Randy Orton back. There's just so much just moving pieces right now. Well, Ospreay's going to be coming to AEW at the start of next year. It's just, it's just a lot of stuff going on. It's just a good time to be a wrestling fan. And I'm just excited for, the future of what's next. I'm sure there's a lot of young people that's going to be coming up in 2024. I'm excited to see who's going to be coming up from NXT. A lot of people are obviously going to be waiting for the Carmelo Hayes to come up, the Braun Breakers to come up. And yeah, it's just an exciting time. Yeah,
wrestling does feel like it's having another boom again. And I'm so glad for that because, as a wrestling fan, during the 90s, I'm sure it was very cool to like wrestling, and then into the early 2000s as well, so it was very cool. But, at least for me, obviously I'm younger, 2013, after that, like, if you were into wrestling, you were a weirdo, you were a nerd, but, like, now it's kind of cool again, kind of, and people are kind of getting back into it, so it's really cool to see, especially people like Bleacher Report tweeting about it. You had ESPN who made an article about it, which was kind of rare, which I think that was also a big telltale sign as well, is when ESPN made an article about it, about CM Punk potentially coming back. I think that was a big, big clue that no one really picked up on, but it should have probably been more forward about it. But yeah, this was an absolutely crazy pay-per-view. One more thing as well I want to touch on as well before we kind of close out the video is going back to the Damage Control and the Women's War Games match. I am a bit sad that Damage Control did take the loss here. But I am okay with it for now, as long as the storyline ends up making sense, because it does seem like, because the ending was that Bayley pushes Kyrie out the way so she can take the spear from Charlotte, and that's kind of how they lose, basically. So I'm kind of hoping it makes sense in the end. I'm sure on SmackDown they'll kind of have like a meeting almost, and they might beat down Bayley, or she might try to explain herself and try to, get back on her good side. But interested in seeing where that goes, because yeah, I'm sure that's gonna be fun. We could have an all Japanese women's faction with just Io, Kairi, Asuka, so that should be fun. But yeah, what an absolutely amazing night. In my opinion, all the matches were like at least like a 5 and above, I would say. Just a very average match at the very least to, very good matches. You already answered the question, was your favorite match? You said the Women's War Games match. I agree. I think that was a very fun match. Obviously, the Men's War Games is probably going to be your biggest talking point, just because of, what has happened in the match, after the match. So, yeah. There's not too much else to talk about. I mean, kind of hit all the bases. CM Punk's back. Well, we're probably making a video about that soon. Same thing with Randy Orton, about what we can potentially see from them.
And also something that came out as well before we end it is this is also rumored to be a multiple year deal as well. Yeah. So get used to seeing CM Punk for a while. I'm assuming that means, we're going to see all the matches that you want to see. We were kind of talking about it earlier, like what are those matches? So I think we should name a few as we end off this video of what we want to see from CM Punk, because that's probably the directions we're going to be going.
Yeah, let's do 3 each. One, I mean, obviously you have to go Seth. I mean, one of them, it's a feud that stems all the way back to 2011 or 2012 when, both of them were world champion. CM Punk as the WWE champion, Seth as NXT champion. They butted heads then, and then obviously it felt like a real life storyline going like later on. And technically, Seth came up to the main roster through CM Punk with the Shield, and they kind of helped him. So I mean, there's a huge history there, and it seems like they can have some deep jabs as well, some real life jabs probably. So Seth Rollins versus CM Punk is one. For me, Gunther. Gunther's one of my favorites right now, if not my favorite, and I think that's somebody who CM Punk probably wants to work with. Gunther's honestly one of the best in the world as a technician, and just a great, just has banger matches over and over again. So I'm sure he'll be really interested in that. And I'm not gonna say Roman Reigns just because I think that's inevitable eventually. I'll say, Rey Mysterio, because I really liked their feud in 2008, 2009, and for my nostalgia, I'll just say that because who doesn't like some nostalgia?
Nah, I think for my 3, I'll go with Randy Orton. I'm not gonna pick anybody from your list, but obviously Seth would be on my list. But I'll go Randy Orton, and just for fun, I'll go Logan Paul. And maybe let's go Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Or no, Chad Gable.
Okay, yeah, that could be really fun. I think Chad would, especially if he's able to work with him, I think that'd be amazing for him. Yeah. I think he deserves a big, push. And the thing as well that we kind of talk about, now that Shinsuke seems to not have been calling out CM Punk all along, maybe he's calling out somebody else, and maybe WWE has something else up their sleeve. Maybe, there's reports about Okada potentially coming over to WWE. I'll be honest, don't see it happening. I did say that about CM Punk, and look where we're at now, but I feel like that's just that would be insanity if Okada would come to WWE. That would be insanity. Other people we can potentially talk about, I think, is I don't know, if it is somebody else. Obviously, it seems to not be CM Punk, so that's why I'm kind of mentioning it. But there is potential we have another surprise by the end of the year now. So
yeah, Okada I think would be amazing though. That'd just be great.
Yeah, I can't think of too many people. I'm trying to with the brief knowledge I do have of Shinsuke and New Japan and his time outside of you, I'm trying to think of anybody he has history with, and I can't think of too many people who are free agents or could go, because people like Hiroshi Tanahashi, I'm sure have history with Shinsuke, but don't ever see him going over to WWE.
I think a cool one could be Ricochet. Ricochet and Shinsuke could be really fun.
Yeah. We've already kind of teased or behind that the no DQ match, which was really fun when Shinsuke did or Ricochet got the big shooting star press, I think it was, off the railing or whatever. But yeah, lots of going on to end of this year. WWE managed to make this again with a huge surprise and one of the best kept secrets. And yeah, CM Punk is back. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you made it this far, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.